retired Rear Admiral in the United States Navy, former board chairman of the Hustings Chemical Corporation, and author of the best-selling Hello, Big Government, Goodbye, America. Here he is, then. Two-time winner of the Minutemen's Americanism Award, a great hero, a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Rear Admiral Nelson Steinschleicher.
My name is Sarah McKendry Bonham. I've lived a long time, and I've made a heap of quilts. But this last one I'm making, this one's going to be my best effort. It's like a family album. Each block means something special to me. My grandmother's patterns is in this quilt, and my mama's. My aunts, my daughters, my sisters, my friends, and many more. They're all here, and so is this great prairie that we live on. Like my papa used to say, it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from here.
My name is Jenny. This was a piece of my wedding dress. Love and laughter and happiness.
My name is Margaret. Pieces of lives, patches and tatters, all of the precious things that matter.
I'm Lisa. Pieces of lives, swatches and notions, all the unspoken, all the emotions.
Pieces of lives, stitches and secrets.
Pieces of all our lives.
We're going to put this quilt together block by block. Each block is different. Each pattern has a thread of somebody's life running through it. You'll see my thread in there from time to time with all the others. My memories, my hopes, my dreams, and prayers. It is my legacy quilt.
I have set out to piece in all the patterns that have special meaning to me, a different one for every block.
And if it be God's mercy to let me complete it, it will belong to you.
I've been a hard worker all my life, but most of woman's work is the kind that perishes with the using, as the Bible says.
I hope you will give this quilt special care and use it well.
I trust you will be able to read what's in it.
Block 1, the rocky road to Kansas.
To Oklahoma.
To Colorado.
To Mexico.
To California, where the sun always shines and the fruit grows wild.
Rocky Road, you're a calling to me. There's a better life at hand.
O'er the rocky road, through the prairie sea, I am bound for Canaan's land.
Day upon day, we moved through the prairie without seeing so much as a tree. Looked like there was nothing at all up ahead there, clear to the edge of the earth.
At first it was all grass and sky, and then the long stretch of gray dust came, nothing but gray and brown, nothing but dust and tumbleweeds blowing.
Dust covered everything, and everything tasted of dust.
Then the cold set in, the icy rain, the hailstones big as rocks, and all the big rocks you had to move to make the road. That's what they meant by Rocky Roads West.
A baby was born.
The snows came. Oh, the footing was treacherous. It slowed us to a crawl. And those winter nights fell down on you as sudden as that. And quiet.
Now and again, you'd hear something off in the distance. Coyotes, Indians, anything that you were afraid of. But there was children with you, so you didn't let on.
7 graves.
1 marker.
Those nights in the wagon, we set to piecing quilts, all of us. We would need as much as we could turn out for the long frost ahead of us.
Day upon day we moved out in a long stretch of gray into the whiteness.
When we stopped on this spot, I got out of the wagon to see where our journey had taken us. I took a good long look. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing. Emptiness. It was so lonely. How could a human endure? Way far off, I thought I could see smoke. There's people, I thought.
Block 2. The first home we had out there was a dugout. Just a large single room dug underground. The funny thing about living there is I didn't ever get the feeling Mama said she had about being closed in down there.
I had my 7th birthday in our dugout in the dead of winter. Papa and Sister Polly and me, we had come west to homestead to kind of make a fresh start after Mama had died. When the blizzard hit us, it was 30 below. We all slept together under stacks of quilts. Then we piled everything we could find on top of the quilts, but we couldn't get warm. Sister Polly, she got really bad. One of us, either Papa or me, always had to be tending the fire. I'll keep the fire going good, Sister Polly. Papa's up on the roof, throwing cowhides down to keep out the cold. I wish I could sleep through all this like you do. Are you thirsty? Want some water? I'll get some fresh snow to drink. Here, Polly, take it. Please take it. Mama, I don't know what to do. Why did you have to go and leave us? Polly, Polly, get up, wake up. Wake up. Papa says, as soon as the storm lets up, we're going to bury you proper. That's what he said. Papa said, it was so good.
There's a land that is fairer than day, and by faith we can see it afar. For the Father waits over the way to prepare us a dwelling place there. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore.
Way back, even before I was able to quilt, my mother and older sisters would be quilting, and us little ones had to keep their needles threaded. Why, we'd be out in the yard playing, and they'd holler out to us,
Children, come thread the needle.
Oh. Block 3 babies blocks. Remember when we was little, we had those dark comforts made from overalls and wool trousers. They were on the bed. Sometimes the neighbor women would come in and quilt with Mama. And them quilts were always real pretty. There was never more than 4 women working because there was no room for more. And us little ones had to wait outside.
We'd be standing in the doorway with our thumbs in our mouths, watching them.
We'd envy them pretty, bright, colored quilts. Finally, I got up in my courage to ask Mama if we could please keep some of them. And she said we could make do with what we had. They took all the quilts to the Baptist church. They was for the poor people and the foreign missions.
I remember like it was yesterday, my first quilt. Mom had one of them frames that swung down over the bed. There was always a quilt on it. She quilted for the public to pay our way. Mama was a beautiful quilter. She had the smallest stitches and the smallest feet in the county. Everyone knew it. She never let nobody touch her quilts. Sometimes when she was through quilting for the day, she would pin a cloth over the top of the quilt so nobody could look at it till she was done. I always longed to work with her, and I can tell you plain how plain I recall the day she said,
Jenny, come over here by me. You can quilt now if you want to.
I was too short to sit on the chair and reach the frame, so as I got my thread needle and stood beside her.
Honey, it's time I showed you something. This here is my scrap bag. It's full of pieces of fabric I've been saving through the years. Different ones of our family are always appearing out of these bags. Now, oh my, this was your great Aunt Mildred's Sunday go-to-meeting dress. Lord, but she sang high. You could always pick her voice right out from the choir. Well, I take these scraps and I cut them into triangles and squares and other shapes. And then they fit together like a puzzle to form the pattern that I want. Then I sew them together, and that's called
Quilting.
No, piecing. When I've pieced a whole quilt top, I put the bottom lining on my frame, my cotton batting in between, and my quilt top over all, and that's called
Quilting?
right. Now, when you become a really good quilter, you'll be able to get 11 stitches to the inch.
Well, block 4, the rubble patch. Lord knows, honey, I never quilted when I was a child. Not me. I was the one ran outside and stayed gone most of the day. The prairie provided most of us kids with all the toys we could want. And with that big playground out there, I couldn't be cooped up in no house.
To my Cornelia corncob doll, I found the longest corn silk strands and made her a right fine head of hair. And from the husks, I made her floppy hands.
I'd sittin' pretty her up till she'd be sittin' pretty. It was the morning and the evening of the first day for my Cornelia corncob doll.
I made a hat of dried sunflower, and I'd fancy it up with chicken feathers. I'd be hunting them for hours.
And I'd be painting her face till she'd be quite the lady. It was the morning and the evening of the second day.
And then I'd piece up a frock from my piecing bag, from the scraps of my Sunday best. And then I'd quick make me a Cornelius doll, and I'd make him a shirt.
And on the third day, I'd get them blessed. And come the morning of the fourth day, and the fifth day, and the sixth day, there'd be dozens of corncob babies.
Oh, and come the seventh day, finally, they'd rest.
So much for begatting. My ambition is to become a doctor like my father. I'm my father's girl. My mother tries to make me do quilts all the time, but I don't want nothing to do with it. I told her never in my life will I stick my fingers till they bleed. Now, my sister Florrie, she's a real good quilter, I guess. Mother says so all the time. Florrie is driving me crazy with her sunbonnet Sioux quilts. So I finally decided to make one quilt and give it to her. Like I said, I'm not such a good quilter as my sister, but I knew just what I wanted to do with this one. It's real small, twin bed size. I finished it and put it on her bed this morning, but I don't think she's seen it yet. I kind of done some new things to Sunbonnet Sue. Each block is different, just like Flora does it. I got a block of her hanging. Another with a knife in her chest. Being eaten by a snake. Eaten by a frog and burning up.
Oh, land.
I'm real proud of it. You should see it. It turned out real good.
Good.
Mercy
Gracious.
me. Mercy. Block 5, a windmill.
I remember so clear, and I was just a little tyke when we moved out near Running Water Draw. That was a funny name for it, 'cause there was never running water in it, except once in a great while when we had rain. Then it flooded all over the place.
The funny thing about the windmill block is there aren't any circles in it. The circle is a lot harder to cut out and sew.
Our daddy decided to dig his well right down in the middle of the draw. He figured that the water wouldn't be so far to reach down there. When the wind blew, the water was pumped into an old wooden barrel down on the ground. From the time I was 10 years old, it was my job to hang a bucket on the spout. Oh, how beautiful the windmill was when Daddy got it finished. Standing up against the sky, it meant water, but it really looked pretty by itself, tall and with the top turning this way and that.
Daddy's windmill made the circle that joined the wind to the earth below, giving life, pumping water, causing all living things to grow.
Well, my daddy was a Baptist preacher. I reckon how that's why I come out so ornery today. But I remember when I was a young girl, Mama was going to help me start my quilts, form a hope chest. She had got out the old scrap bag. We spread them out on the bed and tried to put the colors together just kind of right. Seems like everybody in our church is using their own scraps and none have come our way. Come Saturday, Mama and me, we went to town to the dry goods store. We had picked 3 pieces of remnant blue and was just fingering some red calico. Just then Papa come in behind us, and I guess he saw us looking and just walked up to the clerk like he wasn't with us and said, "I'll just take it all." He picked up the whole bolt of calico and carried it to the wagon. Can you imagine? A Baptist preacher, just like an ordinary man, is just crazy about red. We had read for a long, long time after that.
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing power? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Are you fully trusting in His grace this hour? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing power? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you fully trusting in His grace this hour? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb? Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Block 6, the butterfly.
Mama, look what I found.
Lisa, where did you get that?
Out in the shed, I was looking for some tools, and I found this. Whose is it?
Lisa, it's yours.
Did you make it?
Oh, no.
Well, who did?
It was made by your natural mother. She didn't live long enough to finish it.
Who was she?
No one knew very much about her. For her birthing, there were women called prairie nightingales. They helped out because there were so few doctors back then. They found your mother and took her to the hospital.
What's your name, child? Where's your people?
She was silent. Sometimes you'd read about these things that happened. It happened a lot with young mothers having too many babies too fast.
Did I stay with her in the hospital?
She couldn't take care of you, Lisa. They put you in a country orphanage. A couple of months later, she passed on. They brought you out from the nursery in that butterfly quilt, an untidy little bundle. But those great big blue eyes staring up at us, you became ours.
When I was alone, I looked hard at the quilt. It was real worn out, not very pretty. It had a single butterfly in the corner.
I'm going there to meet my mother. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over
Block 7, the schoolhouse. I really settled into quilting at the Hunter School. Miss Jessie, who taught us all our subjects and was interested in that there quilting, she called it needlework. And we each had to make one homemade quilt that year. We had to piece it and quilt it, the whole thing ourselves. And she was real particular about color and the stitching. If you couldn't find just the right color, she'd let you look in her bag. It meant a little piece of Miss Jessie was in your quilt.
My mama pieced the doves in the windows, set it together, and I quilted it. I wouldn't take nothing for it. It were the second quilt I made. In the summers, we'd put up the frame on the screen porch, and when the work was done for the day, Mama would say, "Okay, girls, let's go to it." That was the signal for good times and laughing. We'd pull up our chairs around the frame, and anyone that dropped in would do the same, even if they couldn't stitch straight. Of course, we'd take out their stitches later if it was real bad. But it was for talking and visiting that we put up the quilts in the summer. And that's block 8, 4 doves in the window.
And block 9, the Lone Star. As a little girl, I remember hearing, "A maid who is quiltless at 21 never shall greet her bridal son." Well, I started quilting for my hope chest when I was 11.
Oh.
You know, a baker's dozen of them quilts was often the only dowry you had, and a sack of potatoes was what you paid the preacher man with. Oh, it took a whole lot of cover to keep warm in them open houses on the plain.
Sitting there under the quilting arbor on an afternoon in the spring, it was the 14th day of April, and the meadowlarks did sing.
Thinking while quilting through red, yellow, and blue, all the happy colors of my design, I must have had wild prayer flowers back in my mind.
Quilting and dreaming a dream on every stitch, conjuring up a cowboy for my husband-to-be, longing for to see him, the one who lies a-dreaming under the Lone Star with me.
Block 10, the wedding rings.
This was a piece of my wedding dress, right there. Love and laughter and tenderness. I think this is the prettiest one I ever made.
All the remnants of a woman's life.
Block 11, the log cabin.
My cowboy, my man, he built our house. It was a log cabin, and it was plenty big. It had 4 rooms. We had the whole house finished except for the floorboards. Now, we'd been told over and over, you have to lay floorboards in the dark of the moon, otherwise they'll curl up and never fit straight. But we were so anxious to move in, and the children were so excited that we went ahead and laid them floorboards under a waxing moon. And wouldn't you know, every last one of them boards warped and shrank up and left huge cracks between them. Every log in my house, straight as a pine can grow. Every room has a window, and every room has a door. And there's a dandelion carpet growing through the floor.
Block 12, the tree of life.
Everything has a time. Early in the morning, I'm tending my flowers and my vine. And when everything's properly done, it puts me in mind to get to my quilting and let the light shine.
I've done my portion of creating, trimming, weeding, and cultivating. Then, when everything within its time is mended and tended, puts me in mind to get to my quilting and let the light shine.
I've been hurrying to get this quilt finished. It's done, but it looks like you girls will have to do the finishing touches. Yes, sir, I leave this work of my hands to you, my daughters, with all my love and blessings. May it bring you as much joy and comfort in the using of it as it has brought me in the making of it. And by the way, when you bury me, don't bury me in this legacy quilt.
Where? Let's see. This legacy quilt is the tree of life.
Oh, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Moving in my heart, I will pray.
I would like to introduce the actors to you. Dottie Hill, Dorothy Rogers. This is Patti Blair and Betsy Alden Robinson. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Thank you very much.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. To the creator of this afternoon.
Thank you.
We thank him for giving us the chance.
Now we'll be clearing the stage, and in a few minutes there will be the Historical Society.